I believe we should just about be going live now. Yeah, there we go. Hello, how is everybody doing? How's things? How's life? How's the universe? How's the week been? How's life, I suppose? How's things? How's your week been? Mine's been interesting. Hello, Sophie. Hello, Ajay. I hope I said the name right. I probably didn't, and I profusely apologize. But if I did, hello. Also, hello, Chris, and hello, Tom. How's things doing? That's a very dark color, Tony. Interesting that it picked that color for you. Is it random colors? No, that's on Twitch. So I guess it's picked this incredibly dark purple for YouTube today. Wonderful. Well, I won't be able to read any usernames here, so I hope that it comes up on my stream. Hello. How are you doing? How's things? My Xbox One X broke. That's not the best. I could understand if you weren't feeling too enthused about that. You know, that happening. Is it one of the red ring of death? Is it a... Well, I suppose they don't have rings anymore. Red light of death? I don't know what the error codes for Xboxes are these days. But yeah, what's up with it? Hi, Butcher Bench. How you doing, man? I'm gonna have to wait until it comes up on my YouTube chat because I cannot read usernames there. Hello. Almost got through setting up my desktop PC, but forgot I did not have a Wi-Fi card. Nice. Speaking of setting up a desktop, I suppose this is kind of a rant. I was thinking about making a video about it, but I tend to try and not shitpost. But yeah. So I tried to game on Linux this week. I set up Ubuntu 20.0.4 LTS, which from an idiot's perspective, Ubuntu is the most popular and LTS is the most stable, so that's the one that's going to have the least issues, right? So I went with that one. I tried to I set it up, I installed the operating system fine, but Ubuntu didn't bundle my network driver with that with the installation. So fair enough, it's a Realtek 2.5 gig you know, chip, so that's kind of uncommon. Even Windows might not have that straight out of the gate. So I went to Realtek's website to download the driver package, downloaded it, copied it on a USB stick to the Ubuntu machine, and went to install it, which you have to do through terminal. And found that Make, the program that lets you compile programs, drivers, whatever, wasn't installed by default. Okay, so I found the Debian package on the Ubuntu repository, downloaded that package, installed it, and found out that GCC, the C compiler, wasn't installed either. So again, find that package, take it to the machine, install that, and it still doesn't work. Wonderful. So I give up and find my terrible Wi-Fi adapter that drops out every 5 minutes, but at least it's Wi-Fi. Plug that in, connect Wi-Fi, and I am able to apt install GCC, which works fine. Turns out that there was about 75 megabytes of dependencies that the package installer failed to tell me what weren't installed or what they were. So that's great. Got the Ethernet working. Went to install Steam. I apparently didn't install the graphics driver correctly, despite just using the default selections. So Steam wouldn't open, and it wouldn't tell me why. Found that there was an error code. If you launch it from terminal, not the launcher. So I went to do that, I searched the what you call it? I searched that error code and nope, couldn't find it. Something about a language error. So I searched the whole error code, and turns out that again the NVIDIA drivers weren't installed correctly. I didn't have the x86 version of the driver. Wonderful. So I tried to remove the driver to reinstall. None of the commands to remove it worked. So I decided that nuking it and starting again and reinstalling the operating system would do the best bet. I was advised by Essentialist, who I'm sure will turn up in about an hour, to use Pop! OS instead, which, much to Pop! OS and System 76's credit, is very easy to install, has the drivers built in and installed correctly, and so you can just go and install stuff like Steam, and it opens and runs. Fantastic! So I installed Steam, I installed a few native games like CSGO, and then I enabled Proton support, which is their compatibility layer to get a fancy version of Wine, to work and let you play Windows games that aren't ported to Linux natively. Picked a few games that I play: Fall Guys, Rainbow Six Siege, GTA 5, and it just so happens that I picked 3 games that either have gold ratings but are now broken or are fully broken on ProtonDB.com. I couldn't play any of the games that I wanted to play, and I just kind of gave up. It was a very painstaking process, is what I would say. I hope that Best Buy doesn't complain about the warranty sticker. I was upsold on the warranty, might as well make use of it. Fair play, best of luck. Back in lockdown here in Melbourne. Fair. I wish you the best. Hope you don't, catch it. How's vaccinations going with on that side of the globe? No, it's not Windows. It's not Linux's fault. To make it clear, none of the issues I ran into were explicitly not necessarily Linux's fault, but they were definitely user error. If I had known that you definitely needed the 32-bit version of the driver installed on Ubuntu, then I would have installed that straight away. That would have been fine. If I had known that Make and GCC weren't installed and all the dependencies weren't installed by default, which that one, why? But what you call it? One brain. If I'd known those things, then I would have been able to work around them, or not do the incorrect things. And from the playing games perspective, it's not a native game. It's not a game that is compiled to run on Linux. It is something that a lot of people have worked to hack to work, which is totally fair enough. The trouble is that from an end user perspective, it doesn't really matter whose fault it is. It matters if you can do the things you want. I guess my view on what an operating system should be these days is something that enables you to do whatever you want to do without ever getting in your way. And if it can offer some useful features on the flip side, then fantastic. But from an idiot's perspective, from someone who doesn't use Linux on a daily basis, I do have a Linux server running in the house, and I have some familiarity with the terminal and the way you go about things on Linux, because it is different to Windows. It's one of those, I guess I went into it hoping that I could easily recommend that the average gamer can now swap over to Linux, or at very least try it out and see how you like it. But my experience was not, well, painful is probably painstaking, because there is still a very high level of knowledge required to understand and utilize Linux compared to Windows or even Macs. Gaming on a Mac next. The solution to gaming on a Mac is Windows. Is bootcamping it, for sure. And obviously the solution to gaming on Windows, to gaming on Linux, to a point, is still dual boot it, switch over to Windows to play games, and then switch back. It's a pain, for sure, and it's something that I personally wouldn't do. But yeah, it's just the user experience isn't quite at the point where I could, as an idiot, go and play games without having to spend hours searching in terminal on Go for different forums and things. I think it's definitely better, for sure. I think one of the funny things that I watched was, because I watched a whole load of videos, I read a whole load of guides about how to play games on Proton, what the tweaks and things you need to do or can be beneficial for certain games, and generally the guide to Linux gaming. And what was funny to me is that on Windows, sure, you need to go and download drivers potentially, although Windows Update does it now automatically, including pretty recent versions of AMD and NVIDIA drivers. But generally speaking, well, you never need to touch a terminal window, which, while terminal is fantastic, or command line interfaces are fantastic, because it allows you to directly tell the computer what exactly you want it to do, and if you know the commands for it, then it's way faster, it's way more efficient, it's way simpler to do, for sure. But for the average gamer, let's say, they may have never even seen a command line window in their life, let alone having to spend a lot of time in one. But the funny thing was that one of the videos was talking about how the experience is much better now, and to be fair, it definitely is. But it kind of came across as not Stockholm syndrome, but it was very much, see, you only need to put in 1 hour of work to get everything working rather than 7. Which is still a bit far for most. For Linux gaming, I like to hook into my AMD GPU and run a Windows VM with my GTX card pass-through. Yeah, that's fair. That's also a very good option. I kind of talked about that in the Gigabyte M27Q video, which is a very good way to go about it. The downside is that you need 2 graphics cards, which again, especially in the current market, more difficult to come by. And it's not an incredibly simple process. There are still tweaks you have to do, and generally just like setting up VMs is still more technical than most would be willing to do. And of course, for most, they can just, carry on. Carry on using Windows. But it would be nice to not have to use Windows, because Windows, at very least, Microsoft as a corporation, and their, let's say, monopolistic practices, I would very much like to be able to avoid those. But it's not quite there yet. I just checked one Steam machine on an eBay auction. Nice. That is one way. To be fair, there was a rumor leak that Valve is doing a handheld console like the Switch fairly shortly, which will be interesting to see. They're definitely in a better position to both offer that and offer good hardware these days than they were back in the Steam Machine days. Windows does work for sure. Like I said, the downside is that I would like to have the option, and for it to not be quite as much pain. Also, Tom, first of all, well, second of all, hello again. And second, third, you streamed for the third time today? Only 2 little problems this time? Nice, nothing serious, I hope. I'm planning on building a nice hash miner below 1200. Well, earlier in this chat you said 1000. Nice, your budget's gone up. So the answer is that you need to spend the maximum amount of money on graphics cards if that is if that's your aim. The trouble will be that you won't find many graphics cards at a good price, certainly not a profitable price, and it's you will also need to factor in having a good power supply for those graphics cards. But for $1,000 right now, you're gonna struggle to find pretty much anything that's of profitability use. You're a bit late to the game, I'm afraid. I mean, to be fair, yeah, but buying a pre-built PC is probably close. First, no game sound, then Streamlabs froze, but it kept streaming. Nice. I think I might have had that before. It's weird, but yeah, it carried on, so fair enough. Don't touch it. Hello, Essentialist. We were just talking about you. How's things? Hello, Phil. How you doing, man? I would have been earlier if I wasn't a corporate slave. Nice. That's fair. That's fair. When will the GPU prices decrease? When people stop wanting to buy them to mine, ironically. Well, yes and no. The real answer is that when supply can overtake demand, then prices can decrease to at very least MSRP, potentially below that, although that's not going to be for a very long time. The main thing is supply meeting what you might call exceptional demand. There are a number of factors that influence that this generation, from both AMD and Nvidia. Mostly, you're looking at thank you very much, Tom. 12 months. Nice. God, has it really been that long? Jesus. Anyway, there are a number of factors. Mainly, it is that most people skipped over the first generation RTX cards, the 2000 series, because they offered a significant price increase for a decent. Actually, at the time, it wasn't really a great value add at all, because they offered the exact same performance. What you call it? Level, like rasterization performance level from the last gen cards at the same price. So why would you ever buy a new one? Why would you not just buy an old one? And sure, they've got fancy ray tracing, but especially when they first came out, there was only a few games, and I'll be honest, I tested it and I couldn't tell which is which. So a lot of people skipped over, and this generation of cards offers a pretty significant performance uplift, and so there is a significant demand from the average gamers. On top of that, There is then also a demand from miners, like significant demand from miners, because cryptocurrency mining is exceedingly popular and profitable right now. And so if you have enough cards, you can make a lot of money for, you know, sitting on your ass and doing nothing. So there is great benefit to that. And so there is even more, what you call it, demand on top of that. And if they may have under forecast, that will definitely have contributed. Andy appears in a cape with a big A on his chest. It's a Momo steering wheel, from At the Wheel. Hold on, let me turn around. You can pick yours up in the YouTube chat, wherever it is. Probably that way, up there, over there, that way. Yeah. Hello, Starman. How you doing, man? How's things? Haven't seen you in a while. How's life? Sick t-shirt. I know, it's great. You should buy one. Shameless plug. Hey, I'm nothing but a shill. Rasterization performance was essentially identical to Pascal cards, and there were a grand total of 0 RT games at launch. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's true. I remember testing a 1080 Ti and an RTX 2080, which were both priced the same price, and they were, as I said, the exact same price, but they were obviously the ray tracing card had RTX or Tensor cores and RT cores on top of that. So yeah. I heard of someone setting up an entire server with dual Xeons and like 4 2080 Ti's. I would assume that what you call it? I would assume that it was probably because that's the only board that they had around. So that would be my assumption. Mining is nowhere near as profitable as it was before. My 3080 is only earning about $12 a day, less electricity, so about $4 a day. Fair. That's mostly going to be down to the crypto price dip, crash, whatever you want to call it, because it sort of halved, didn't it? So yeah, that's fair. Have you seen the MSI sword and katana? I'm looking at the MSI sword because my goof wants a gaming laptop. Thoughts? I have not. I haven't looked at or I certainly haven't had any MSI laptops in since last year. So I'm afraid I can't tell you. Also, I'm not entirely sure that I could even tell you what those laptops are. So at this point in time, I'll look it up in a minute. James, how common are F-150 pickup trucks in the UK? Ask because the new electric F-150 will probably be a huge deal in North America. Not at all. It is very, very probable that you could go your entire life in Britain and never see an F-150. Occasionally you see a couple of people who have imported them, but they're not sold directly. You can't go to a Ford dealer and buy one. And realistically, there aren't many pickup trucks in the UK at all. Again, it's very rare for you to find them. There are a few models of the Nissan one and the VW Amarok that are slowly creeping in the sort of more job site ones, but generally speaking, if you want a work vehicle in the UK, you buy a Ford Transit or a Mercedes Sprinter, because they have, more capacity, more carrying capacity. They are fully secured, and it rains a hell of a lot in Britain, and so yeah, that's that. But Yeah, occasionally, like Chris says, you can get Toyota Hiluxes or VW Amarok, or I think there's a Nissan one that's around. But most of those have the covered beds, in full cover bed, and even then it's not as popular. I think you can buy the Raptor in the UK, the F-150 Raptor now, but that really is about it. Navara, yeah, that sounds about right. Also, on the note of the MSI Sword laptop, obviously haven't tested it, so I can't tell you. Looks pretty thin. 11th gen Intel, it doesn't specify which one on their spec page, so not sure. And 3050 Ti or 3060 would be okay. It's obviously a super thin, so you're more likely to struggle with thermals, but yeah. But my thoughts on the F-150 Lightning, it looks really cool. For me, the real downside would just be that range is the main thing. I think it's what, 230 miles or something. Don't get me wrong, the price is fantastic. And the fact that it can be a viable replacement for a large number of vehicles already, in use in the States, is fantastic. I really like the front, the fruit, or the front trunk, whatever you want to call it. That's a really cool addition. It's kind of funny because, again, in Britain, if you just bought a van, you would have an entire one of those, but in the back, and so you could put all of the big things in there. But from the sort of culture that likes pickups, having a legitimately secure area that isn't the cabin, I imagine will be a great benefit to a lot of those owners. So yeah, I think also the fact that it's, you've got your like power outputs from it, and I know that the standard one has that, but I think this one has a few more, and either way it's just cool to have because you don't really get that in the UK, even on vans as far as I'm aware. So yeah, it's cool. I like it. The range is probably would be my biggest concern, especially if you're using those power plugs already. But yeah, it's cool. Hello, Michael. Hello, Demon Z. You built a PC and it won't boot. In the end, I removed the CMOS battery and now it runs perfectly without. Why could this be, and what problems might it cause? So to clarify, you are saying that you have removed your CMOS battery and it now boots fine. If so, I'm a little confused because it is my understanding that you wouldn't boot a system wouldn't boot without a CMOS battery, unless you have a defective motherboard, which could be the case. It's really, really warm in here, so sorry that I'm sweating. I rode around in an up-armoured Toyota Hilux with a 240B mounted on the top of the bed. I missed that truck. Nice. It's quite far away from you now. And that's probably a good thing. About to fire up iTunes for the first time in years. Nice, that's a throwback. Here in Victoria, they passed legislation to tax electric vehicles 2.5 cents per kilometre. Love to know how they're going to find out how many kilometres you've done. True, do they have MOTs or some form of yearly safety inspection in Australia? Because I know that in the UK, obviously we have the MOT. In Germany, it's TÜV, and a lot of other nations, in Europe and stuff, have that sort of yearly or bi-yearly or some form of inspection. And in the UK, one of the things that is mandatory that they record is the current mileage of the vehicle. So that would be a very good way for them to collect that sort of information about how many miles, or in your case kilometers, you've done in that time period, and then send you a bill. Seems like a very weird way to tax those sorts of vehicles, because I would assume that that tax is not being levied against internal combustion engine car owners, which I understand that there is what you call it. I understand that there is there will need to be some way that you end up taxing electric vehicles, because in the UK the way that the vehicle tax brackets work is by your CO2 emissions, which is kind of a flawed system, since diesels end up paying not an insane amount compared to the amount of pollutants that they produce, but yeah, I'm not sure that charging per mile the right way to do that. Although I do understand the concept. Here in the Netherlands, it's APK. Fair. Phil, yeah, I get that one. Yeah. Where are we at? Detective Magnota. I'm finally able to start building my PC after being on a GP pre-order for 6 months. Nice, congratulations. That's sweet. Is it auto? Is it only auto? Oh, is it only car support? No. Feel free to ask your questions. My Warzone is lagging like hell. Fair. Where do I begin? What hardware are you running? What resolution? What you call it? What settings are you running at? Has it lagged like this before? Have you updated your graphics drivers? Lot possible. How to fix a code 37 for display adapter? I have no idea. What is a code 37? Uh, 1080p low on a GTX 1050. Nice. That's going to be difficult. Right then, Google suggests that you should use DDU to remove your graphics drivers and reinstall them. Sorry, another user. Hello, how you doing? How's things? It's one of those. I read your, so I read the comments, but Rain didn't pick them to answer. How you doing? How's things? How's your week? Hope you're well. Just bought a SteelSeries Apex Pro. Nice. That's what you call it? The Apex Pro is the one that has the magnetic keys, right? Well, the Hall effect sensor keys that let you detect travel and change the actuation point. I built a new PC to replace my laptop. Spent £600 on motherboard, CPU, I assume speakers. I had everything else. I had power supply, GPU, RAM, monitor. Total value of the new system is $3,358. To the old laptop's $1,200. Nice, quality. That's fair. I need to reinstall my graphics driver because somehow my Radeon software and graphics driver became unsynced, and I don't know how to. So I can't launch the software. Fair play. My shoelace is caught in the chair leg. There we go. Fair. I've had that happen before, actually. I wonder if that's one of the sort of bugs that the Vanguard team should investigate. Are you into VR? I am. Where is it? Come on, out you come. Yes, I am. I very much enjoy my Index. It's fantastic. And I really like the controllers. These are the Index controllers. They let you do full hand tracking. So they'll track each individual finger, and then they'll track position of this. So yeah, it's great. They even let you track your thumb position, whether you're on this or on the joysticks. Really cool. And I don't really have many downsides. It can be a little bit heavy on the face after a while. But other than that, it's been fine. And obviously the immediate downside is it costs $1,000 to buy one. So yeah. Have you seen or planning to look at the new HTC headsets? On that note, I haven't tried, or I certainly won't be looking at them unless one falls on my lap, which I don't expect it to. So yeah, that I'm not expecting to cover them, and I think I've seen a little bit about them, but I have not seen, anything directly. And certainly not tested one, unfortunately. Any budget-friendly VR headsets that are not Oculus? That's the trouble. Honestly, the best solution is probably buying a used Vive. I think you can buy full kits for like $250, $300, which is about the same, if not less than a Quest 2, but you get what is essentially a very modular platform. You can use the, you won't be able to see them, but I have V2 lighthouses there and there. But you could use the the V1 lighthouses, and then you can buy later on the Index controllers, and these will work just fine with your Gen 1 lighthouses and your Vive headset. And then if you really want to upgrade the image quality, then you can go and buy the Index headset as well. Yeah, Vive is HTC, whereas Oculus is Facebook, and John Carmack works there, used to work there, something like that. But yeah, that's that. Detective Magnota, there you go. I can't read. That's great. I remember, oh god, it was like 7 years ago at least. I was sitting at home, as you do as a school student with a day off, and I yeah, it was fantastic. I got the house phone rings, and I normally ignore it because it's the house phone, and who calls a landline these days? But for whatever reason, home alone, why not? I'll answer it, fine. I answer it, and it's a very nice Indian lady who is very concerned for my safety, and who starts talking through some sort of spiel about the computer safety, and she's official support or something, I don't know. And then she says, there are 10 different people using your computer right now. I go, oh gosh, really? Which computer? And she kind of stumbles, and she goes, all of them. And I go, that's funny because they're all off. And she goes, oh, that doesn't matter. It's blah, blah, blah. It's like, sorry, I know what you're doing. Please reconsider your career path. Hang up. Goodbye. Like, of all of the people you could have tried to fool, I'm probably not the best one to try. Tech support stories with Andy. We should just go on Reddit and read out their funny ones, because they're better. Anyway, let's answer some actual questions. So, Noob Judge, assuming you're not trolling, you are being scammed and you should very much ignore the person and ignore or remove any programs that they may have attempted to install. No, I don't have a landline. I did 7 years ago when I lived at my parents' house. What do you think of the Vertu V5 air cooler? Wow, that's specific. I have no idea. It's not well known. I would go so far as to say that. Looks like a Cooler Master Hyper 212 clone, which is fair enough. Looks like it's got a couple of heat pipes, which is fair enough. Yeah, it looks pretty beefy for being as cheap as it is, which would make me potentially concerned about the efficacy or the quality, let's say. But it's a big hunk of metal with what looks like some heat pipes, so it's gonna do a pretty decent job. Yeah. Hello, Antonio. How you doing, man? I'll answer your question in a second, especially if I forget. Do remind me. Michael, I'm worried about that I have a Gen 3 SSD instead of a Gen 4 SSD. Personally, I have both, right? I have a Gen 4 SSD, I have two Gen 3 SSDs, I even have a hard drive in here that's technically still connected, but doesn't do anything anymore. Personally, I would not be worried. The only reason for even remotely considering buying a Gen 4 SSD right now would be the whole DirectX IO, RTX IO kind of, what is it? Whatever it's called, data compression on the fly, and much better bandwidth from the drives. That would be my only thought if I was set on buying a Gen 4 SSD. That would be the only reason that I could justify, or I could find a point to try and justify that purchase. So right at this second in time, and honestly for the next probably 5 years, it's unlikely to matter. There are too many people running not even SSDs, many still running just SAT SSDs, and then only a few of those are running Gen 3, and then only a very few number of those are running Gen 4, so we are well shy of having enough adoption of even Gen 3 for games, or game developers to be actively optimizing and creating genuine benefits to having those faster drives. Now, consoles do complicate that because they do have much faster drives and they do have that sort of, the name escapes me, but on-the-fly compression, which will potentially help accelerate that adoption. However, we've been saying that the consoles will help adoption of certain topics, like having a load of cores for the last 15 years, and consoles, the PS5 had 5 cores available to game developers. The current gen, or I suppose what's now the last gen, Xbox One, PS4, had 8 cores available. They were Jaguar cores, so they were dreadful, but they had a lot of cores. And it's only in the last couple of years have we really seen any benefit to going with any more than 4 cores, right? And even then, most games still don't utilize it. It's just because the new chips that happen to have more cores are faster. But anyway, the point is that personally, I would not be worried. There is absolutely no need to buy a Gen 4 SSD right now. I have made multiple videos explaining that in the various ways, and so I would not be worried. Where are we at? Antonio, hello. What GPU is better for 3D modeling? A 3070 or 6900 XT? They're the same price. I plan to combine it with a 10850K. I would get a 3090, but I can't find them. Interesting, the 3070 and the 1600 XT are the same price. Generally speaking, NVIDIA still has the edge in CUDA acceleration, which is something that AMD doesn't support. AMD has to rely on OpenCL, I think that's the right one, which is not as widely adopted and not as widely supported as CUDA is. And so specifically for 3D modeling, despite the 3070 being a slower card and by a good margin in gaming performance, you will likely get a better acceleration experience with the NVIDIA one right now. Oh. Nice. Where am I at? Trying to put an SSD card in my Nitro 5 and strip the screw. Unlucky. It depends how they have it. If they have a little standoff, you could buy a replacement for that standoff. If it's directly baked into the board, then you're going to have a lot more trouble. But, yeah. Difficult, unfortunately. Hello. Hello, Marcus. Why am I bad at PC gaming? Well, I spend so much time making videos and running companies that I'm just too successful to game. How you doing, man? How's things? NVMe's hardly a difference over SATA. Yeah, exactly. There really isn't any benefit. Do you think the 5800H is worth it over the 5600H for £30? I would think so, yeah, because you get a couple of extra cores, don't you? And I assume it's probably a touch faster as well. Hello, Jan. And hello, Jaren. All the J's. Hello. Best laptops are under $680. That's very specific. I'm assuming you want gaming rather than your. The question you're asking is about what gaming laptop is best. If not, feel free to correct me. Otherwise, there really isn't many good gaming laptops under $680. You might be able to find an Acer Nitro 5, one of the lower spec ones for that. And they're pretty good for the price. Things good. Nice. What would you buy? B550 5600X or B560 11400F? If it was my own money right this second, the 11400F and B560 offers a better value proposition. You even if you have to what do you call it? Even if you have to spend a little bit more on a cooler, because you do, it's still a better value proposition right now. I would argue that the Ryzen lineup offers better long-term upgradability because there are just so many more cores that you can throw in there. So when they do become relevant, you can upgrade to an 8, 12, or 16 core chip instead if you fancy. Whereas on the Intel one, the best you can get is 8, and those 8 will set fire to your house. So, yeah. But yeah, that's kind of it, really. Antonio, thanks for explaining. No worries. By the way, 3070 is going to cost me $2,700 US. Is it worth it? Ouch, that's a lot. Oh dear, that's painful. That's painful. Is an 11400F worth it with an RTX 3060 Ti? I did a build guide about that, didn't I? I think I did, yeah. Wait. I did it with 3060. Yes, is the answer. Where am I at? I turned on the computer to find out this keyboard has like 7 different keys stuck. It's a mechanical USB. I checked all of the keys are not mechanically stuck. Now when I plug in my keyboard, what could be causing this? Great number of things. Faulty sort of controller board type thing. Or it could be contaminants in the keys that are effectively bridging the connection to what you call it, complete that circuit. So there is a number of options. A good idea would be to clean it out, ideally with some compressed air. That will help you. If you can blow out the keys, especially the ones that are sticking, if you push them down slightly and blow your compressed air in there. But if it, as you say, happens on other computers as well, then it's obviously a fault with the keyboard, and so it's either the controller or the switches themselves. Obviously, if they're not mechanically stuck, then yeah, try blowing them out, try cleaning it gently. Don't run it under the tap. But yeah, that's your best bet. What's better, spaghetti or linguine? Chris says lasagna. Tagliatelle. Oh yeah, we do a good Alfredo here, and it's great. I must say I'm looking forward to Intel's GPUs to see how they do. As am I. It's going to be very interesting. And I think it will be interesting to see first generation to second generation. Like, whatever they come out with to start with is going to be very intriguing to watch. But what will be interesting for me is how quickly they can move how quickly they can step up. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting. We got a 25% tax, and on top of that, the stores usually add another 25%. So in Croatia, we get GPUs at double the price. Should I go with 3060 at 1600? That is a lot less. Jesus. But yeah, that's. I would. If you're trying to balance gaming performance and 3D modeling performance, I would still probably say that the 3070 might. It's very hard to say that, but might be worth paying more for it. But that is a lot more money. Yeah. Ouch. See you, Sophie. Where can you find live videos on YouTube, as they don't show up in the channel anymore? They should show up in your subscription feed, assuming you're subscribed. Although it's weird, like YouTube moves them around a lot. It is on the page. It's me side-eyeing my water bottle, but it is on my youtube.com/TechteamGB/featured. How we choose monitor? AW2721D, Acer Predator 240, or the FI27Q-X, or the PG279QM be released. So, out of the ones that you have mentioned there, I have only tested the FI27Q-X, and it's great. I think you would struggle to find much better. I think it will potentially vary what you're wholly after, but getting 240 Hz IPS is fantastic. I think my video on that is out, isn't it? Or is it not? It is. That was 3 weeks ago. Of course it was. So feel free to go check that out. But it's fantastic, and it's a very good gaming experience. The panel's remarkably fast. It can mostly keep up with 240 hertz. So yeah, worth it. I have a question. I just bought a pre-built, and the second week it randomly started turning off after 3 or 4 hours of gaming sessions on Valorant. Interesting. What do you call it? Where am I at? Come on, brain. Right. First question. Check the temperatures. Check if it's running too hot. You can use a program like Hardware Info, HW Info, or Hardware Monitor, or CPU Temp. That's what it's called. Any one of those will tell you the temperatures of your components, and if they are above what I'd probably say is 90 to 100 degrees Celsius, then that will be the cause of your system shutting off. Otherwise, it's, what do you call it? Could be down to the power supply conking out. Again, that you bought a pre-built, which sort of entitles you to the benefit of buying a pre-built is that you get support. So feel free to contact their support team. Make sure you back up any of your data, but because the likelihood is they'll ask to have you send it back. And then there is a chance that your data may go missing or be reformatted as part of the rebuilding process or whatever. Or if they offer you a brand new system as a replacement, then again you're not getting your data back. So make sure you back up your data and then contact them, and they should offer you offer to have it back and test it and see what's happening themselves. Yeah. I'm currently having an issue where my GPU goes down to -1 for the encoder and my PC freezes. Any fixes? When you say it goes down to -1, what do you mean specifically? In my region, I can get the Acer VG271 I assume P for $325, or the Asus VG27AQs $460. Let's have a look. There's AQ, right? Yeah. Okay. I don't think that I've tested this Asus one specifically, but I have a sneaking suspicion that it's going to be very similar in performance to the Acer one. Technically it's 165 Hz instead of 144, but and so that personally I would go with the Acer one instead. My PC won't power up if the 4+4 pin is connected. Anything to do? That is certainly unique. It's a very strange fault that you don't come across very often. There could be many culprits, for sure. Potentially from the power supply side, potentially from the motherboard or from the CPU. Does it boot with just 4 of the 8 pins in? -1% usage. That's impressive. Off the top of my head, I would suggest a driver update to see if that solves anything, or potentially roll back a driver version to see if that helps anything. And a check on the Windows updates as well. It doesn't boot if just 4 pins are installed. Interesting. So again, my first assumption would be the power supply cables potentially broken their sheathing and are shorting on the case or something. and so the power supply is detecting a current draw and not giving off power. Or motherboard. There also could be again something on the back of that connector, perhaps dust or fluff or whatever that is causing a short, and again power supply is deciding nope. So it would be very difficult for me to help much further than that, I'm afraid. It is going to be a case of someone wanting to physically look at and test your machine, your cables and stuff. Is it true that the 11400F is power hungry when playing games? Yes and no. So it's definitely more power hungry than, say, its Ryzen counterparts. The 11400F draws anywhere between 100 and 130 to, actually I saw it peak at 150 watts recently. So that is significantly more than the Ryzen chip would ever draw. The max that I've seen 5600X draws about 80 watts. And in gaming it's slightly lower than that. It's probably more like 60 watts from the Ryzen, whereas it might be more like 80 to 100 from the 11400F. To a degree, yes. With that said, 100 to 150 watts isn't the most power hungry chip on the market, and so it is it's not the end of the world. Yeah. Bro Fialami up to, what does that mean? You've said it a lot, I don't understand. What do you feel about the D7 computer? You're gonna have to enlighten me, because I don't know. You know what, Januzig? Fair play. I'll see you later. Enjoy. Nice, James. Good job. And with that, that's our stream. Thanks for watching. These are every Sunday, Thursday night, 8 PM UK time. So if you have any more questions, feel free to pop back next week or just have a chat. As always, there are links in the description you can check out, including merch for hoodies or t-shirts like this one. Feel free to check it out. Other than that, yeah, hope you have a good week. I'll catch you guys next week, and obviously video tomorrow and Monday and every day after that. So yeah, we'll see you later. Bye guys. That one.